Hello and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. This is episode 114. My name is Chris.
My name is David.
And it's just the two of us this week, David.
Yeah, I know.
But that's with good reason, because you and I are the only people who attended the Red Dice Minicon at the weekend.
Yep. Shameful display from the
from our co-hosts.
Although, to be fair.
No, don't be fair. It's definitely like not the point that Ewan was in a completely different country at the time. All right. Yeah, Ewan was in Sweden. Pavel has no excuse whatsoever. There was loads of stuff there that Pavel would have loved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll hear a little bit about it later.
Yeah, we will do. But this is going to be a bit of a different episode, so we're not going to do our usual talking about the games that we've played and doing sort of reviews of them. We're just going to go through some of the things we did at the Minicon, but most importantly, we've got a lot of interviews to get through. So we interviewed quite a bunch of people.
Yeah, this is a new enterprise for us. It's not something we've ever done before. I think we did all right.
I think, I feel like I was becoming a natural towards the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go as far as to say we're now experts.
Yes, I mean, I think after you've recorded 4 interviews, that's the requisite amount.
I think so. Forget that. What is it to say in order to become an expert? Is it 1,000 hours or something? Or something like that. Forget that. You just need to do 4 things, and that's it.
Yeah, you're 90% of the way there.
Nah, I think so. It's just tweaking after that. So yes, we're going to talk about the Red Dice Minicon. Me and Dave went there on the Saturday only. It was on for 3 days, and it's something that you'll hear from Stuart, who runs Red Dice Games. We got an interview with him, so you'll hear from him in a minute. But it's something that he's hoping to do kind of regularly. He's not really sure how regularly yet, but it was on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We went down on the Saturday. It was reasonably busy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, given that it was quite short notice
definitely
for this particular event, I think it was pretty well attended, and yeah, it was. We had a good time.
We definitely did.
We were there all day, pretty much.
I mean, rather than us trying to explain what the Red Dice Minicon is, will we just play our Stuart interview and let him explain the whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. But we do have one thing to say about this interview before we start, actually.
Yeah, see, this was one of the earlier interviews, so we hadn't quite reached expert level.
But it's more the thing. I think the fact that your little recording device that you brought, which is a nifty little gadget, by the way. I think it had been gathering dust in a cupboard somewhere for a while.
Oh, I have no idea what happened, but it did a very strange thing and carefully excised a section of the interview. It's not we cut it out because Stuart was particularly offensive, because it's far from that as it's possible to be. I would say he's a lovely person, but yeah, it's a little bit of a shame.
It is a shame, but it was only a few seconds that it cut out, and what we'll do is I will interject from the future and tell you what was actually missing from the section when it happens.
Smooth.
And then we'll pick it back up with Stuart again.
Yeah, I mean, you probably won't notice.
Nah, you probably won't. But here it is. Here's Stuart telling you all about the Red Dice Minicon. Okay, we are here with Stuart.
Hi.
With Stuart, you're the owner of Red Dice Games.
I am.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about Red Dice Games? When did you open? Where is it? That kind of thing.
Okay, so I opened the store in Leith in Edinburgh, and we opened in officially in January of 2018, and then we took on our second room in October the same year and opened that in January 2019. Or almost February 2019, I guess.
Yeah, because I think the first time I was here, you only had the one room, I believe.
Yeah.
So that must have been early on.
Took a while to repair it.
So this is the point where the recorder had a little bit of a failure. You didn't miss much though, it was just a few seconds. Stuart had just finished up talking about opening up the second room, and then I asked the question, what sort of events do you put on here at Red Dice Games? And Stuart started off by saying that most of his events are based around games by Fantasy Flight. So that's where we'll pick up the interview again.
Mostly from Fantasy Flight games for X-Wing or Legion, Game of Thrones, the living card game, and Star Wars Destiny, which is an awesome game. But we also have regular events for Warhammer 40k, Kill Team, all the kind of Games Workshop games, and just general board games every week as well. People come in and play, as well as role-playing games. So we do a bit of everything.
Excellent. So why did you decide to open? What were your biggest challenges?
Why did I decide to open?
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 8 years, and it was 6 years of online only, looking for premises. And anybody that's ever looked for premises to open a business in Edinburgh will know it's very expensive. So eventually one came up that was within my budget, that had enough space, and we went for it. And it's more about providing a social space for people to come and enjoy and meet other like-minded individuals and be safe. Because you can go to a pub and you can play, but is it really safe? Yeah, but here, it's absolutely, because everyone's here for that reason. They're not here for other reasons. So it's about a safe space, like a third space, as it were, if you're familiar with third space theory. Yeah. And the challenges were mostly the cost of finding premises all along, and finding customers, getting the word out, letting them know that we're here. And that's a big thing about today's event, is to make sure that they know that not only are we here, but that the other game groups that have come along to show off their stuff, that they exist as well, to generate more interest in the community.
Excellent. So you talked about today's event. So you're doing a mini-con.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's all weekend this weekend, so that's Friday to Sunday.
Yes.
So what was the big decision that made you decide to do the mini-con? Was it really just to get the word out?
Yeah, and to get people interested and involved in the community, make sure that they know about us and other things that are available to them. And yeah, I was free all weekend, so
so why not?
Yeah, normally I'm closed on a Sunday, but this weekend I was free, so
yeah, cool.
Aye.
So I noticed you sell a lot of stuff here as well. Mm-hmm. What would you say your biggest seller is?
Dice.
Dice?
Aye, dice.
Oh,
absolutely. Dice. People can't get enough of buying dice. They'll buy them by the handful, the bucketful. Yeah. Aye.
Right, cool. Could you tell us, have you had any bad experiences or even funny experiences running the store?
No, I don't think so, actually.
No?
Most of the customers are... some of them can be a bit eccentric, I guess is the best way to put it, but they're all very nice, and they're very upfront and open about if they have any what's the word I'm looking for any difficulties. And we certainly, the venue itself is accessible, and that there's a lift if you can't get down the stairs. There's a ramp in the front of the shop to get in, and we've made sure that all the tables are far enough apart that if you're in a wheelchair you can get in and sit down at a table, which was a big thing in building the new wargaming tables. We made sure that there was space for you to get into the table so that you're not banging your shins or whatever. I have
to say the space here is amazing. There's a lot of space here. There's a lot of space to move about. It's brilliant. What are your plans for the future? That's the last question.
Plans for the future? Yes. World domination, surely. No. I would think we'll continue to grow the business and put on more events and look to hosting more regional events here in Edinburgh to make it a bigger... There are other stores, but they don't put on big events. Yeah. And I would like to be the one to put on those big events and allow people to come here, even as far as middle of England. We've had people come from... Newcastle and Berwick sort of area, but we'd like Carlisle and further probably to come up, and again down from as far as Aberdeen and everything up that way as well, to come to us to get involved with these bigger events. And I dare say if this works out really well, people have suggested I run it again next year, so we might do it again.
Well, so far it seems to be quite successful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Stuart. That's everything from us.
Right, great. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, Dave, that wasn't bad for a first ever interview, eh?
It was alright.
Sorry to put the focus on me there, but... But nah, Stuart's, like you say, Stuart is a lovely guy. He's the space, the shop is brilliant, as I said in there. There is a lot of space in there.
We were in the... We were lucky enough to get a little table of our own.
Yeah.
It was like we were a proper podcast and everything. It was amazing.
It was a strange experience.
It was. Not used to having that level of respect. And so we were through in the what I think he referred to as the wargaming room.
Yeah.
That makes it sound amazing. That's what just occurred to me now. It doesn't. Yeah, sadly, it doesn't have a big, massive screen on one of the walls and lots of tables.
We need to suggest that.
But yes, it is a large space with large tables in which one can play war games and other games. And yeah, as you said, there's a lot of room in there. I hadn't seen that room before. It was the first time I was in there, so it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's in those sort of typical Edinburgh sort of classic vault style rooms, isn't it?
Yeah,
with the big sort of arched ceiling down in the basement of a building. So yeah, it is an amazing space. We did get involved in a conversation with Stuart about how to soundproof things effectively.
Yeah, this is the downside of
these vault rooms.
Yeah, sort of concrete arch, very long, like being in a sort of mini hangar almost. It can get a little bit echoey. But I mean, I think there's things that can be done, and I'm sure he'll address those at some point.
Oh yeah, he seemed to be genuinely having a good think about it. Anyway,
lots of soft furnishings.
Soft furnish. That's the way to go. You just want to put some drapes across the walls. So yeah, so we like you say, we got our own little table, and I took Hand of Fate down because it's a game, like we talked about this a few episodes ago in the podcast, the game we got through Kickstarter. And it's a game that, like, I think people would be genuinely interested in. We got a couple of guys that came along, and one of them, at least one of them anyway, had played the video game Hand of Fate, and he'd seen the board game before, and he was really interested in playing it. So I showed them how to play. You'd never played it before, Dave, either, had you?
No, so I got a wee shot of it as well.
Yep, and our old pal Ian joined in, so make it a full 4-player, and I just ran the game. Well, I was overseeing the whole thing, essentially, just making sure people were following the rules. Even though quite a few of the times I was like, you can't do that, and then realising that actually no, they could. But that's just the pitfalls of trying to run a game and keep track of what 4 people were doing.
Yeah,
it's the first time I've ever done something like that, actually, is run a game, and it was an interesting experience. I would definitely do it again, though. So what did you think of Hand of Fate?
Oh yeah, I liked it. It's sort of deck building adventure game. I mean, we played the versus mode,
the competitive
mode, which was interesting. It does strike me as a game that maybe would have slightly more interest in the co-op mode. To me, I think it just adds some additional aspects, and it seems to possibly lend itself better to cooperative play in the way that the game works. It can be a little bit frustrating when you play competitively because of the game changes by the time it comes around to your turn, if you see what I mean. Whereas there's like a shop, if you like, and also the board, the map that you explore. It can be a bit. It can seem like every time it comes around to your turn, you look at the shop and it's like full of rubbish, and then everyone else is buying all these amazing things on their turn.
Yeah, that is the one complaint I would have about the competitive mode. And I think the next time we play this game, and I'm always up for playing this game, I really like it. We should definitely play the campaign.
Yes.
I think the campaign's where the heart of the game's really at.
Yeah, I get that impression. And obviously when you play cooperatively, people might leave things for you because, you need them and you're all in it together. But apart from that, sort of minor niggle, I really enjoyed it. It's a sort of solid deck builder with a little adventure. I was saying to Chris at the time, I don't know why I love games where you make a map out of cards that you overturn.
Yeah, there's something appealing about that, isn't there?
There are so many games that work that way, and I don't know why it appeals to me.
I like the random nature of it, I think. I think that's one of the things I like. And also just the idea of the unknown.
Yeah.
What you don't know what you're stepping into when you take your turn, and I quite like that idea.
Yeah. So it was good.
Yep. And if you want to hear a sort of full review of Hand of Fate, it was in episode 109. So you can go back and listen to that if it's a game that it sounds like you're interested in. So yeah, we sat and we did that for 2 or 3 hours, just sat and played Hand of Fate. The guys that joined us, they seemed to really enjoy it. One of them won, I believe.
Yeah, the two of them both did very well.
They both did. In fact, the guy that won, actually, he was such a runaway leader. He was so far ahead of everybody else. He played the game very, very well. Yes. Unsurprisingly, this is the guy that had played the video game before, I think.
Well, that's interesting.
So yeah, once we were sort of done with that, Stuart had actually pointed us in the direction of a guy called Tom. And Tom makes a board game, or a very, very small sort of footprint game. And it comes in a tiny little box, almost similar to Microbrew, called Squirrel.
Yes.
So we had a little chat with Tom. So here we go. Here's our chat with Tom, the designer of Squirrel.
So hi, we're here with Tom from Format 15
Yeah,
Games.
that's right.
And we've been playing Squirrel, which is the game that you've got up on Kickstarter at the moment. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, perhaps?
Okay, yeah, it's a small, very very small 2-player game. It's kind of originally designed with kids and parents in mind, but it's seems a little more popular with some adults as well, because it's kind of got a few tactical elements that you can play around with. It's got quite a heavy look element to it, but also there's quite a bit of gameplay in it as well, so parents don't get so bored when they're playing with their kids. It's handcrafted.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about this game. You make how much of it do you make? I mean, it's most of it.
I screen print all of the sort of card components. So I screen print the wrapper on the box and the actual cards, and I buy in the wooden kind of squeeples or meeples that come with it, and so it's mainly I make all of it by hand and construct it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's quite unusual, I would say. I don't think we've come across...
Oh, cool.
Well, not... I mean, I'm sure it does happen, but it's the first one I've come across on Kickstarter. I mean, what made you decide to do this, do you think?
Well, I wanted to design games, but obviously really wasn't... I'm not well known. I live out in the countryside. I don't really belong to a games group, so I was kind of working in isolation. So I just kind of wanted to start making stuff so that I could take it out and show it to people. So the normal routes weren't really open to me, because I'm kind of out in the sticks.
Uh-huh.
So.
Is this the first game that you designed
No,
to completion?
I actually did a bigger game that was quite complex and quite elaborate, but it was probably took about 2 hours to show people. So I kind of learned my lesson. I did kind of do a successful Kickstarter around it, but
Right.
I decided I needed something that was much easier to show people, that I could do. So this game plays in about 3 to 5 minutes, so
Yes.
I can sort of show 100 people a day, whereas before I was just showing 5 people a day. So.
Oh yeah. Well, we had a lot of fun playing it. I played it with Chris, and 1-1.
A 1-1 draw.
Well, thanks very much, Tom.
Okay, great.
Enjoyed playing it, and it's good to hear from you.
Right, thanks.
So that was Tom. Mm-hmm. What an absolutely lovely bloke Tom is.
Yeah, he was.
We sat and chatted to him for a while, actually, and he was just like, he's one of the most softly spoken people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. But his game, Squirrel, was an interesting little thing, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, at first glance, it looks very, very, very simple. And it isn't like the most difficult game, but there is a little bit of depth to it, which was really surprising to me. And we kind of started to pick up on that once, because we played 2 games. As we said, it was a one each, 1-1. And it wasn't really until the second game that I was kind of like, oh, right. And Tom was kind of pointing things out about the game itself, about things that you can do and stuff like that. And I was like, right, well, I can see where this would be a little bit more tactical.
Yeah.
But also like a fun game to play with kids, because kids could easily pick this game up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's exactly as he said. It's like a game that he has designed for kids, but there is a little bit more to it, or there can be if you choose to play it that way.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of it as well. The idea of squirrels rooting through little piles of leaves. They turn brown, looking for acorns. There's something nice about it.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely little theme. And theme's something we're going to come to later on in the episode.
Yes.
But that is a nice little theme. I don't think squirrels is a theme that you see very often, if at all.
So that's up on Kickstarter at the moment.
Yes.
But that Kickstarter ends at 9 p.m. on the 11th of April this month. So that's on Thursday. So
we're hoping that this episode is going to be out on Wednesday.
Yep.
So if you are listening to this on or before the 11th, and you're interested in the Squirrel game, the handmade Squirrel game, the Kickstarter is running, but it is about to finish. So go and have a look at it.
Get in there quick.
Get in there. Yeah. Tom was saying to us that he was a little bit, taken aback by the amount of people that have backed it. He was expecting, I think he got more backers than he was expecting, and because he hand makes all of these, he's like, well, I'm going to be busy for the next little while.
Yeah.
So back in the wargaming room where we had our table, it turned out that Inspiring Games had the table next to us. Inspiring Games make the game Legends Untold.
Yes.
And not Untold Legends.
Not Untold Legends.
Definitely not that. And Kevin from Inspiring Games was there. And he was very chatty with us. He's a really friendly guy, Kevin. And it turns out that he's actually listened to our podcast.
Yeah. It was nice to know someone listens.
It's nice to know somebody had had a go at it. But I think
he actually mentioned things we said, just as proof.
Oh, yeah. Because he'd actually listened to us talking about Legends Untold, because we played Legends Untold at Tabletop Scotland in Perth last year. It was the very first thing we did. And I really enjoyed it. I ended up back in the Kickstarter, but we talked about it on the podcast, and he was bringing things up in the review that that must have been Ewan had said. It could only have been Ewan. Because they were quite weird, but he was quite amused by it. I also think that he'd listened to some of our other episodes, but I think he'd listened to some of the older ones, because he said, "Oh yeah, some of those episodes were about 2 hours long," and I was like, "Yeah." So about episode 80 or something like that. We did do very, very long episodes. We don't do that anymore. So yes, Kevin chatted to us about Inspiring Games, about Legends Untold, and about the future of Inspiring Games and what they were planning to do. And there's some interesting things in here, so listen up. Okay, so we're here with
Kevin Young from Inspiring Games.
From Inspiring Games, and you are part of the team that's made Legends Untold.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. You want to tell us a little bit about Legends Untold?
Yeah, so definitely part of the team. Myself and a guy called Hugh Ducker. He's the head of design at Inspiring Games. We pulled together that game, it seems like a long time ago now, 4 years ago. We sat there one day thinking, let's make an RPG light game. Originally called it R0 as a code for that. And with various pieces of card and pens, we came up with that on a rainy day and then iterated it throughout. And about 2 years later, launched it on Kickstarter. And now delighted to say that those games are finally being delivered around the world. As you guys know, it's been a journey and a half.
Yes, I know about that. My game's stuck on a ship somewhere, I believe.
It's right. It's technically in Rotterdam on a container, and we'll be with you soon, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward, because we played this at the gaming convention in Perth, and really enjoyed that. We did review it in a podcast episode previously.
Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
I believe it involved trains and sheep. That's all I can remember.
I think the review possibly did, but that's what happens when Ewan gets involved in a review.
So just for anybody listening there, then Legends Untold, the sheep game is coming soon. Yeah.
The sheep expansion.
That's the one, yeah.
So there is a few expansions for Legends Untold, right?
So the plan before was actually to go to Legends Untold and then move on to the Apprentice set, and we quickly realised, probably about 6 months ago, and this was confirmed by reviewers and indeed from early adopters that have got the game just now, that if there's enough appetite for the game, that what we want to do is to give more variety for the sets as well. The principal thing we had to do with the game, as you know, is to keep the price point low, because it was an entry level game, and therefore trying to deliver an entire RPG meant we had to cover all the bases, but with only so many variables. Now what we want to do is deliver a lot more of those variables. And so rather than take the time to go and launch Apprentice set just now, because there are some fundamental things we want to bring into that game, what we want to do is launch an expansion that gives you way more content to play with the existing sets. And that's called A Step into Darkness, or Acid as we call it. And the intention is to launch Legends Untold Acid with a few months down the line.
Excellent. So are you planning even more expansions? You want to expand the game as much as possible? Yeah,
we just put up a map yesterday actually on the Inspiring Games Facebook page, which shows you how the two core sets from the existing game, the Weeping Caves and the Great Sewers, and also the new sets from Acid, which we've not actually gone into yet, and how they work, will interact with the ones from Apprentice and indeed Journeyman. So yeah, the intention was to launch a franchise. In hindsight, should we have launched something simple as our first game? Absolutely, no doubt about that. But now we've got there, we hope and are optimistic that there's a franchise there that we can continue to run.
Cool. So Inspiring Games, are you planning on doing anything else beyond Legends Untold?
Yeah, there's two streams to that. One, there's a number of games that we want to produce which are inside the Legends Untold universe, and those are typically called Legends of something. So we have Legends of Dunmordane, which I wouldn't want to get into too much detail about, but the idea on that is that, and I will stress to anybody listening, this is several years down the line, but the idea is that you can perhaps take the characters that you've got from Legends Untold and use them in a city-based game where you can potentially compete with other cultures and try to achieve what's going on in that city on a daily basis. So there would be seasons and months and police and guards and
that
a
sounds
whole
interesting.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the games that we really still like playing is the old Vitesse game, Jihad, the card games, but we don't call it Jihad now, we call it Vitesse for good reason. But it's a game which we love to play. It's, for today's market, I would say it's probably a bit too slow and involved, but it's one of the few card games from the 90s that are out there that you can do a lot of stuff with, and some of the stuff in that we'd like to explore in that expansion.
Excellent.
Other things that are coming, there's a game called Lord of the Horde, which is finished. We're just going through some iterations on that. That's the one that doesn't have legends in it, and the intent with that game is that you wind back 3,000 years before the events that you're taking place in Legends Untold just now, and you competitively play a tribe of orcs who are trying to defeat the Brethren or the Dwarven Empire. So you're working against one another to defeat the dwarfs, and those are the two main ones just now.
Excellent. I feel like we've got some exclusives there, Dave.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely so. Definitely so. The one that I really want to do, although Hugh will say, and where's the design for this, Kevin? Is actually Legends of Mor Nadar, so that's the whole world this time round. And that is, imagine the scale of a Total War video game with the fun of playing Fantasy Battle but using cards. That's the overall vision. So you can play all of those newcomers as an army, taking over the world, etc. But that's a while away. Yeah.
Right, excellent. Well, thanks for speaking to us, Kevin.
No problem. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, that was an interesting interview from Kevin. We
Yeah.
got exclusives, Dave. I'm sure we got
I
exclusives.
think we did.
They seem to have an ambitious ideas for what they want to move on to, and probably rightly so, because I think Legends Untold's done very, very well with its Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think so. And you're right. There's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah,
There's plenty to keep them busy for the next
the next 10 years.
Seems like.
But yeah, I'm really excited. Looking forward to getting my copy of Legends Untold so we can break it out again. Really did enjoy playing that. Once it finally gets here.
Yeah, where is it now? Have you got your ship tracker?
I haven't got the ship tracker. No, I haven't checked it. I know that I think there was a tweet put up earlier today. I think backers in America are starting to get their copies now. So I don't think mine's is that far away. It's in Europe at least. But yeah, it'll be worth the wait. It'll definitely be worth the wait. Right, so other than those people, there were a few other things going on at the convention. There was a group of people from the Embraced live-action role-playing group, who are apparently one of Edinburgh's longest-running vampire live-action role-play games.
Yeah, and they were fun.
They were fun, yeah. We did have a chat with them. They came in with their stakes and their guns, and one guy dressed in a cloak. We had a little chat with them. They were nice people. They gave us a poster to give to Pavel.
Yep.
We told them all about Pavel.
Yeah.
They were wanting to get him involved.
That's how you keep away an RPG vampire. That's how you repel them. by placing another RPGer in front of you as a sort of sacrifice.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that you and I are not the kind of people to go and do some LARPing, but Pavel definitely might.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, true.
But, yeah, definitely more Pavel's sort of thing. There was mention of cyberpunk as well at one point. So.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of interest crossing over there.
Yes.
Pavel should. I feel that he may have found his family if he'd come to this convention.
Yeah, I look forward to Pavel attending the Embraced Vampire LARP and then reporting back on it.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That would be wonderful.
That would be a good thing.
Oh, he might be sworn to secrecy though. Who knows what happens in Embraced? We also noticed that there was 2 or 3 people from the Penance RPG there. I've listened to their podcast. They do a live, well, not live, it's a podcast, but they do an actual play. That's the term I was looking for. Actual play, role-playing games where they just record what they're doing, and some of it is very, very funny, I have to say. I've been really enjoying the latest one, which the name totally escapes me, but their latest series, their latest story, I've started listening to that from the beginning, and some of it was absolutely hilarious. We didn't actually get a chance to speak to those guys. I think they left before we got a chance to actually grab them, but they were there. They made their presence known. There was a lot of wargaming going on.
Yeah, a fair bit. Down the far end from where we were. We observed it. Well, I was going to say we observed it from a distance, but that's not true. I went down to have a look at what was going on.
Couldn't have a look. So it was one of the Edinburgh wargaming groups, I think, at least was there anyway. I did chat to a couple of those guys briefly. But they, I was admiring their terrain. Like, the terrain and all the models that they have is next level stuff. It was really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they had a nice setup on the go. There was a bit of, I think they were playing 40k at one point.
Yeah, they were.
But there was a bit of Kill Team as well, and there was some other stuff down there. There were some other games being demoed or available for demo. Guild Ball. And
yep.
I forget which of the many Star Wars games that people play now, which of the ones it was, because I didn't have a shot of it. But yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's the latest Star Wars miniature game, but again, I can't remember what the name of it is. But it was definitely there, and it looked quite impressive. And I sent a picture to Pavel, actually, and he was jealous.
Yeah.
But, Pavel, you need to start attending these things.
Yes.
You need to get out and meet some people. Last of all, I spoke to Eric, who's from the Juniper Green Board Gaming group, and I ended up, I had a chat with him, and what he was saying was so interesting that I had to actually sit him down with the recording and say, right, let's start this again. And I think this was actually my favourite interview. Not that any of the rest of them were particularly bad or anything. It's just that what he was saying was actually really, really interesting, because he'd come with a couple of already established science board games. So one of them has been around for a couple of years, another one came out last year. But you're going to hear Eric talking about them. But what was interesting to me was what he'd actually gone on to do with these science board games. So here is Eric from the Juniper Green Board Gaming Group. Okay, I am here with
Eric Ducreux.
And you are part of the Juniper Green Board Gamers Club?
Yes, that is correct. I'm one of the founding members, yes.
Excellent. But you've brought some science games here to the Red Dice Games Minicon.
Yes, I bought some games from a company called Genius Games because we are very good friends with the designer, John Coveyu. And so I brought two of his main games, which are Cytosis, which is a cell biology game. It's a worker placement which takes place inside a human cell. And the entire game basically plays as if you were all the elements of a cell, make them work in order to keep the cell healthy. And the player who keeps the cell the healthiest and gain most health points is the winner. And I also have the other game called Subatomic, which is a particle physics game, which is a deck building game where you use subatomic particles to create atomic particles, like protons and neutrons, and from there you create elements. and you can also have famous scientist cards, which will allow you to have special skills and powers to combine the cards and to create these elements faster. So they are really, really good games to play as a start. They're very good for education for children. They are all about the level of high school biology and high school physics, chemistry. So they're fun. They're very well made. They're lovely quality, and they're very fun to play.
Excellent. And you've been telling me just before we started that these games are actually scientifically accurate as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the game comes with a booklet about all the science behind the game, so it explains all the theory, all the logic, and it's being vetted by scientists. So the one for subatomic, you've got all the scientists which have worked on it are listed, and there's you're talking about 30 of them. And our club treasurer is going to be one of these scientists for their upcoming game called Periodic, the game of the elements, which has been on Kickstarter last year, should be delivered fairly soon, and we're very excited about it.
Excellent. And I believe that you're kind of lobbying, I suppose, a little bit to get these games into schools.
Well, yeah, because John does in the US, he has a program to support teachers and to try and bring these games into the classroom, which very much match what we're trying to do here. And at the end of last year, we've met with some of the Edinburgh councillors, and especially Gordon MacDonald, MSP. We wrote a letter for him that he now brought to the education minister, and it should be discussed at the Scottish Parliament in June, and hopefully we will see some movement forwards, maybe to look to get some of his games in some classroom as a trial to see how does it go. We've done our own trial with some of the high school in our area, and it's been very, very positive. We worked with the language department in Curry High using Yogi from Bez, and the feedback from the teachers has been fantastic. We've published it on Twitter, and the teacher thought it's fantastic. It engaged the children. They're excited. They've learned all the language associated with a game far faster and better than from any textbook. So I think we've got a very good case to say that board games are good for education, and we need to use them more.
I couldn't agree more, because if you make learning fun, kids are going to be more engaged with it, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you just looking at simply kids. I mean, I've got 3 kids. You put them in front of a video game, within about 5 minutes, they know the lore of the game, they knew all the name of the characters, their specialties, they know everything. So if you can channel that kind of excitement and learning ability via board game for lots of subjects, then I think you can change a bit the way we learn things, make it less boring, and engage with the children, because in our technological world now, kids are more in tune with fun and games and stuff. So the more we can bring of that, the better.
Excellent. And do you want to tell us just a little bit about Juniper Green Board Gamers, when you meet, where you meet?
Well, we meet every 2 weeks, except during the holidays, because it's a board game club for children and families. So the majority of our members are kids from about the age of 8 to 14. And we've got the parents coming with them. So we had quite a few funny stories about parents coming with their child, not knowing what to do, and then the children start buggering off playing with friends, and the parents look around, and the parents end up playing lots of games themselves, like photosynthesis as well, and end up really enjoying it far more than they ever thought. And then they start playing it at home with their children and engaging with their own children a lot better. Our club is a bit different. We usually get on average close to 20 people every time. So
Excellent. And where exactly do you guys meet in Edinburgh?
we meet at the Juniper Green Parish Church, which is just on the outskirts of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So it's in the southwest area of Edinburgh. So we cover the area of Juniper Green, Ballerno, Curry, Barberton, the Lanark Road.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, Dave, I absolutely love that idea, just bringing gaming, interactive learning into schools. I think that's a fantastic idea. Definitely would have engaged me more when I was at school anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially topics like science, where people can have a hard time getting their head around that. There's a lot of terms and things like that, and Eric was saying there that the kids learned these terms so much quicker than they could have done from a textbook.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good idea, and it's a very different kind of board gaming club, I would say, from certainly what we've encountered.
Yeah,
and it's nice to see that things can be a little bit different. It doesn't always have to be the same kind of stereotypical thing.
Yeah. So yeah, because I'm not entirely sure if Eric, because he said he's one of the founding members. I'm not sure if they intentionally set the club up to be a children's club. I think it may have just worked out that way. But okay, so that was Eric. That was very, very, very interesting. Again, another absolutely lovely guy. He was very easy to talk to. And yeah, I wish them all the best in their endeavours with the science board games.
Yeah. It was a good interview, Chris.
Oh, thanks very much. I mean, that was the last interview that I did, so I think by then that was when I became expert level.
Is that when you ascended?
Yeah, I leveled up. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that we got up to at the Minicon, with the one exception, which was that we were grabbing people at random as we were going through the day.
Yeah.
And we were asking them, because we were trying to do some more sort of interesting discussion things on in the podcast episodes, and we thought it would be interesting to ask people what they thought about board game themes, and in particular the themes that they haven't seen before, or themes that they would like to see.
Yeah, that's right.
So we put this question to people, and here are some of the responses we got.
Giant robots, I guess. Mecha. Like, they haven't made any good Armored Core video games recently, so maybe like an Armored Core style game where you can swap out different parts and upgrade your parts, customize it.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a good franchise, but it seems to be dead.
My name is Megan. The theme I would like to see more represented would be My Little Pony.
Excellent. I approve of this answer. This is clearly going to be the best answer.
Because there's not enough of it. There's all the blood and the guts, but there's never good, wholesome fun with My Little Pony.
Just to be clear, this is the good My Little Pony, not the weird.
Not the weird one. No, not the crossover gen. No. I want proper My Little Ponies. Let's go old school. None of the new stuff, please. Thank you.
I'd like to see a bit more sort of like smaller skirmish gaming done, but like not against other people, but against like sort of a AI or a Dungeon Master style, like XCOM or something like that, where it's done properly, where you can really get in depth with your squad and sort of mess around with their equipment and their gear, and it might not have to be XCOM, but anything that sort of.
So you're going to something like much more where you can properly customise what you're doing with your guys. And
exactly, sort of like the Games Workshop's Kill Team, except done in like a board game, more of a contained way that doesn't require you to put such an investment into a hobby.
Something you can play single player as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that.
I don't think there's been much to do with sort of family life. There's lots of sort of city building, and there's a lot of board games, things like that, but nothing so much about sort of improving your family. The only one that comes to mind is Happy Families, to be honest.
Happy Families. I was going to ask if like any one game in particular you could think of that did that. But I think Happy Families, the theme isn't really there, is it?
Nah. The only other one that comes to mind is Gloom, and that's about making your family as unhappy as you possibly can.
I've never heard of that one.
It's a good game, but you're trying to make your family unhappy and then kill them all.
Well, we got a mixture of answers there, Dave, from the general public.
We certainly did.
I quite like how strongly Megan felt about the My Little Pony old school, not new.
Yeah.
And I like how you approved of it as well.
It's a good answer.
It was a good answer. It was different. It was exactly the kind of thing we were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting little outing for us. It's not something we've done before.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely do it again.
Oh yeah,
But
I fairly enjoyed it.
yes. It's fun.
So anyway, we also asked Pavel the question. We asked you in the question as well.
Yeah.
We'll go for Pavel's answer first, which
If you can call it an answer.
which it consisted of several paragraphs, but he managed to sum it up eventually after saying things like Cyberpunk, and I was like, yeah, there's plenty of Cyberpunk games out there, Pavel. But he summed it up by saying, all themes I'm interested in have already been represented in board games, even if only a couple of times. Which is a very Pavel answer.
Oh, Pavel.
Oh, Pavel, what are you like? Dave, what did Ewan say?
You said tugboats and Crown Green Bowling.
Which is a very Ewan answer.
And to be fair to him, there aren't that many great games about either of those.
Yeah.
So,
But you did look it up, and
I
you
had
did
to
find the
double check.
tugboat game, didn't you?
yeah, but they do exist, but they're very old, and I don't. It's a genre that could do with a bit of revitalization, some new life. So if anyone's listening who designs board games,
You could get a good tugboat game going.
yeah.
What about you, Dave?
For me, I don't have such a funny answer. I feel I have a kind of serious answer.
I was the same.
I quite like watching professional cycling and following it on the television. And I know, yes, there are a lot of board games about cycling and bike racing.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of them capture the aspects of pro cycling that I like. And to be fair, it's a challenge to do it. Even computer games have struggled. So yeah, I can understand why, but it would be cool to have something that reflected some of the more nuanced themes of pro cycling, the things that make it stand out from other sports that you can follow, because there is, the team dynamics basically are the interesting part of it, and
Yeah.
that sort of side.
Now that would be interesting, I think. I think that's something. I'm trying to think.
It's a challenge to do in a way that's not too heavy.
Yeah,
Because you
I think
want
that
it
would
to
be
be
the problem.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's possible because there are so many games out there that are just nail it as an abstraction. Once you see it, you're like, this is so clever. They've totally got it. So it should be possible. But yeah, it is remains to be achieved, I would say.
See, I was thinking I went a very video game route with it. I started to think about the question in terms of there are so many weird video games out there. So what kind of things like that haven't been represented in board games? And for some reason, the game that stuck in my mind was House Flipper. You remember House Flipper? I talked about it a few episodes ago, where you're basically like a kind of weird mixture of interior designer and architect.
Ah, yes, I remember.
And it was a video game. And I was actually thinking, has there been a board game like that where people are designing houses?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think that would be quite an interesting idea if you're building designing houses and maybe selling them and that kind of thing. The other thing I thought about going from a video game thing was Worms.
Oh yeah.
But you can think of Worms as in the Team 17 game, but then I was thinking, are there any games about worms themselves, about the life of worms? Because there's definitely ant games out there, for example, like Mermies. I think there's another one. Yeah, and there's games about bees, but I haven't seen anything about the sort of more creepy crawly style things. I suppose there's dominant species. I think insects is one of the things in that, but it doesn't really simulate the life of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was where I came from with it. So I don't know why. It just that's where I went. That's where my brain went when I was thinking about it. And if you've got any answers to that, please feel free to get in touch with us. It's firstplayertoken@gmail.com, or you can find us on all the social media stuff, which we'll give out at the end. But last up, we did want to talk about one game. So while we were at the Mid Red Dice Games mini-con, I got speaking to Stuart about asking him what the new games he had in, basically. And he plonked this game down in front of me and said, here we go, this is a Kickstarter game, it's only just been fulfilled. If you get this, you'll be one of the first people to get it.
Made you an offer you couldn't refuse.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to let me leave without it, so I handed over my hard-earned cash, and we went off and sat down and played Village Pillage.
Yep.
And it's a card game, and at first glance it looks like a very sort of simple card game, but it's very much a I kind of take that card game in a way. But there's a lot of sort of strategic planning, and essentially all the game is you have a hand of cards. Everybody has an identical hand of cards. They're 4 different colours. They have various things written on them. Well, the idea being that you have a village and you're trying to be the best village. So you're trying to buy 3 relics using turnips, which are the currency in this game. And you get turnips and you buy relics using your cards. But people can be doing things to you. So they can be trying to steal turnips off you. Or gaining their own turnips through farming, or they can be trying to buy their relics, or doing various things just depending on these types of cards. So you play one card on the player to your left and one card on the player to your right. So if it's one of the red cards, it could be you're trying to steal things from them, steal turnips from them. But the thing is, if they've played a card that can negate your red card, so the cards they have symbols at the bottom of them to say, if you've played this card against an opponent's card of this type, then this happens. So, like I say, if you're trying to steal from them, but they've played one of the blue cards, which are the defensive cards, that steal will do nothing.
Yeah.
But they will then gain something, and sometimes those blue cards can actually end up stealing things from the person that just tried to steal from them. So they're quite handy. And you play the game through this. You can acquire new cards. So you, like I say, you've got 4 basic cards, but you can acquire new cards by buying cards with the
turnips.
With the turnips and the yellow cards that you get in your hand. Those are generally the ones that will let you buy the new cards. There's 4 cards on the table at all time that you can see that you can buy from. Those are generally just better versions or different versions of the cards you already have. There's no hand limit, so you can have as many of these as you want. And you play through buying relics. It's 8 turnips for your first relic, 9 turnips for your second, 10 turnips for your third. Whoever gets the third relic wins the game. And it's that simple. And you know what? It was really enjoyable.
Yeah, because it sounds simple. Get a bunch of turnips. The turnips are awesome in this game, by the way.
The Kickstarter turnips are great.
Yep. That has to be stressed. Also, there's a chicken on a coin for some reason that you flip for tiebreakers at certain points.
It doesn't happen often.
No, but it's nice. But yeah, in theory, it's simple. Gain a load of turnips and then spend them using the yellow card. But in practice, it turns out to be more tricky than that, because the people on your left and right are going to do their utmost to make sure that you do not have a sufficient number of turnips to buy the relics that you want, because the cards resolve the colours of the cards resolve in order.
Yeah.
And the yellow cards or golden cards that you use to buy relics with turnips that you have, that's the last thing that happens. Those are the last cards to resolve. So most importantly, the red cards that steal turnips from you resolve before the yellow ones. So you may have planned to have a sufficient number of turnips, but your opponents can see what you're doing, and they can see that you're accumulating turnips, and they know that you're going to have to play a gold card at some point in order to buy the relic, and they will try and step in when you do that and play a red card against your gold card, basically, to steal turnips from you.
Yep. And there's definitely, it's sort of like a guessing game, I suppose. Like you're just trying to predict when your opponent's going to do certain things, or the people, your opponents, or the people to your left or right. Essentially,
it's definitely it's guessing and bluffing to an extent as well, and it feels there's a little bit of a rock paper scissorsy type thing going on, but it's not just a direct analog of rock paper scissors. But there's definitely, the red cards are countered by the blue cards, the defensive ones, and so trying to sort of, like, there was definitely times in the game where I just kept playing blue cards on both sides of me early on, and sometimes people played red cards and it paid off, and other times it didn't. But that's sort of playing it safe. But you can't play it safe for the whole game. You will fall behind. You've got to play your green cards, the farming ones, to get a decent amount of turnips. So you've got to try and time it.
Yep.
And that's the gist of it, and it's good.
Yeah, because it's the simplicity of it that makes it such a good game. Because it feels very streamlined. Like, there's not a lot of cards in this game or anything like that. It's not like it's a massive deck of stuff that you can buy from. It's fairly limited, but at the same time, that's part of the beauty of it. Something almost like love lettery about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a deck of cards, but the 4 colours is what makes it work.
Yeah.
The cards that you buy are just better versions, and some of them are much better, and that definitely plays into the game. Not all cards are equal, and good cards can turn up in the shop.
Was that a pun? I'm sorry,
I
Dave.
wish it was intentional. Should we be getting some chicken puns in as well?
Oh, God. Well, we've ruined it now, haven't
Yeah.
we? So yeah, actually, I'm actually quite pleased that Stuart wouldn't let me leave without this game, because it turns out this has been quite a good acquisition, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. Because we played a 3-player game, so we were kind of interacting, all 3 of us.
Yeah,
and you were asking the question earlier, is this maybe best played as a 3-player game?
It's possible.
You know, you can play up to 5.
Yeah.
There is a mini expansion that came with the Kickstarter version that I got, which can add a 6th player. I don't know how the dynamics of that would work.
I mean, I'm sure it works just fine. It's not, it's not a light. I don't want to say it's a light game, but it's perhaps a light-hearted game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, okay, fine. If you're playing with 6 players, there's the person sitting opposite you who you will never, people sitting opposite you that you will never interact with, and that you cannot affect whether they win or lose. It's just down to their neighbours. So, if you're being super competitive about it, then that might not be optimal. But it's not really, it's a fun game. But I mean, I guess, yeah, if you wanted to be like the gamiest version of it is possibly with 3 players. But I'm borrowing Chris's copy, so we're going to give it a go with more players. So I'll find out at the weekend.
Like I've literally had it about like 4 days, and Dave's already away with it.
That's how good it is.
So yes, that is Village Pillage by Jelly Bean Games. I'm glad that I got forced into buying this, and it wasn't expensive either. I think it was less than 20 quid I paid for this. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was less than 20 quid. Yeah, good game. So that rounded off our day at the Minicon. Was the last thing we did. We played Village Pillage, then we packed up and off we went home. Successful day, I would say. I really enjoyed what was happening there. I really enjoyed meeting all the people there. I enjoyed doing all the interviews. Brand new experience for us, like you say, Dave.
Yeah.
Great. I had a great time.
Yeah, I think we're going to do more of this. I'm looking forward to going to the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure there will be one, and I think I'm already planning what we're going to do. I think.
Well, the first part of the plan is dragging Pavel and Ewan into it.
Well, you see, I think we should be running demo games of Loincloth, the RPG. That's definitely what we should do.
Ewan definitely needs to run a game of this.
We've got a year to prepare for that, so there's no excuse.
We've got a year to prepare an entire game. Make rules.
Yeah, but it'll be like just like mini sessions, 5 minutes, 5 minute RPG.
Pavel will have a stroke if we try and make an RPG.
It'll be amazing. we'll all have loincloths, and there'll be a big banner behind us with a massive loincloth on it, and the slogan of the game, which obviously is "Your loincloth has perished." People will not be able to resist this. I'm confident.
I'm glad our podcast has in jokes.
This is not a joke. I think we should do it.
The thing is, I know that you're being serious. Okay, right. We're going to have to get the troops together. Get this made. Right, okay. So that is episode 114, the Red Dice Games Minicon special in the bag.
Yay.
So we'll give out all our internets. If you want to contact us, you can do so by email using firstplayertoken@gmail.com. That's FIRST player token. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. We have a PSN community. You can find us on Twitch. We have a Discord, which is discord.me/firstplayertoken. All of those are FIRST player token, the exception being Twitter and Twitch, which are 1ST player token.
That's once player token.
Thank you very much, Dave. The website is something that I am going to work on this week coming, because I have been so busy that it got neglected again. But I do have some time off as of the end of this week, so we're hoping that the website will be up and running within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that is firstplayertoken.com if you want to go and check that out. There is a holding page there at the moment, but you can get a rough idea of the design of it by going and looking at that holding page. So there you go. Also, we are part of the Podnose Network.
The UK's leading entertainment podcast network.
Any news there, Dave? Do you know?
No, because Ewan's not here, and that's his job.
That is his job. Okay, if you want to go and check out Podnose, it is podnose.com. There are a wide variety of podcasts in the network on a variety of topics, and we are part of that. So go and check that out. Okay, I'm not sure if we're going to have an episode out next week.
We'll see.
We'll see. So, until the next episode, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.